First of all, I want to say congratulations for being selected, and we look forward to giving you access to Motorica to let your creativity go wild. But before we go into those tools, I'll introduce myself. I'm Kalechi, Technical Product Manager here at Motorica. And today I'm going to show you the different ways that you can use Motorica and its different products to create animations and a gameplay system that you would ultimately submit to our competition. So the first thing that we want to go through is the products themselves and the high level process of what they are and how we would use them. Motion stage is the first one, and this is where you would be generating one animation at a time. So it's useful for getting used to the system, seeing how a certain style or style combination reacts to certain actions, and just all in all, figuring out how you're going to use Motorica in your pipelines before you go on to your more iterated processes. The next one is Motion Factory, where you'll be generating animations in bulk. So let's say you're making a motion matching system. It'll be very tedious to generate 200 or 300 animations one by one. So that's where Motion Factory comes in, and you can bulk generate and really create some repeatable processes here to really get some pipelines down. And the third one is style cloning. So this is where you'll be able to create your own styles. If you have maybe 5 or 10 minutes of mocap data lying around that you want to use, then you can send that here, train a style on it, and that style will be usable in both Motion Stage and Motion Factory. So if you really want to create a bespoke style and you do have some mocap data available to you, that's the option for you to use. But before I head into that, I've mentioned a style a lot of times, the word style, and you might be thinking, what is a style? And the easiest way for me to explain and show that is inside Motion Stage. So we come into Motion Stage, and you'll see on this tab we have the styles, but I'll pause that and just talk about the technical details of Motion Stage. So here we have our Motorica character. And if we click this button, you can see that we're showing the skeleton. And the skeleton has 5 spine bones. So it's based off the Unreal Engine mannequin. Loosely, the bone structure is kind of based off it. And we have naming conventions that are similar to motion builder naming conventions. And if we unclick that, we can just see the mesh. We also have blend shapes that you can use to visualize different styles, so put them into context better. But we'll go back to the defaults there. And if we click play, we have the character. We have controls like follow camera. We have run in place. You can also change the root motion visualization by right-clicking. So these are the tools that you'll be using. But if we head back over to the right-hand side and look at the styles tab, here is where we're going to select the style that we want to use for this motion. So this motion you're seeing is using the normal male style, and it's using it on our public Tango V1.1 model. Now, we do also have a private preview Tango V1.2 model, which will be available to you for the competition. And this model, it improves the motion quality, but it also adds around 60 different styles for you to use. So we'll head into this model for this demo. And the way you do that is just you come in, you click model, drop down, click the model and select it there. And now we are going to have the whole list of styles. So if you hover over any style, you're going to get a preview. So you can preview any different style, but you can also search them. So we can search for the zombie, click zombie M and click animate. And now we're going to get the same path that we just had, but this time it's a zombie. And if I click animate again, we're going to get the same path, but a different zombie. And each time I click animate, you'll notice we're getting a different zombie. And that's because the seed is changing each time. So every time this seed changes, we get a new motion, in the sense that if you have the same path, the same seed, and the same settings, you'll always get the same animation. But if you change any one of those variables, so in this case, we're just changing the seed, then you're going to get a different animation. And you might already have some light bulbs firing in your head, thinking about how you can use this seed. And a good way to use the seed is to create a crowd, because if you want the same or similar motions for the same style, but you want to use it in a crowd system, then changing the seed is going to give you very different animations, especially for a style like the zombie, which is really varied and has a lot of kind of unpredictable movement. But if we want to use a different style, let's say the goblin, and we click goblin and click animate, then you can see it's more hunched over and it's less flaily and less unpredictable. But let's say that we're in a case where we want the goblin style, but we want a little bit more of the unpredictable flaily motion that we got from the zombie. What we can do is we can create a style blend. So in the second slot, I can add zombie. And I'm going to say I want 70% goblin and 30% zombie. So it's going to be the goblin dominating the style with some of the aspects and characteristics of the zombie. We click animate, and now we're going to have the hunched over characteristics of the goblin, but a bit more of that flailing that we saw from the zombie. So that's a way that you can mix styles, and you can mix any two styles in the system together. Styles that have props, ideally, you should mix styles that have props with other styles that have the same prop. So, for example, if we have warrior alerted two-hand axe, then we want to mix that with combat two-hand axe. So you want to kind of keep the props the same, but in theory, any two styles in our system can be mixed together. But if we head back to, let's just go with the zombie for this one, and we click animate, and let's say that's the style that we want to use. We also have the consideration of we're retargeting, and we want to use this zombie, but we want to use it on a different sized zombie. So let's say our zombie in our game, the actual character that we're going to retarget to outside of Matorica, has a hip height which is a bit higher than the Matorica character. So our zombie is actually a bit taller than the Matorica character. What we can do is we can input the hip bone height of the skeleton that we're going to retarget to, and that's going to change all the motions to adapt to that size. So I'm going to choose a really extreme size and say we're making a giant character, 200 centimeter hip height, so 2 meters tall at the pelvis. We can click animate, and you'll notice that now instead of kind of sprinting at the end, it's kind of slow jogging, because if we pause here and take off follow character and we change the hip bone height, you'll see the world space size of the root motion path itself stays the same. All we're doing is scaling up or down the character to fit that world space path. So then when you retarget back to your character outside of Motorica, then it will be the correct size and the correct speeds that you defined inside of Motorica. But we'll go back to the default height just to keep it simple. And let's say we've got our style and we're happy with it, but we want to make it do something else than walk and run. Well, that's why we head into the motion tab. So we have two options here. The first one is the presets tab, and the second one is the import root motion option. So with presets, we have a bunch of different presets, and what these presets are they're representative of different actions that you could want to do in a gameplay system. So they're very much based off animations that we'd see in state machines, like, for example, a left 90 turn at 2.7 meters per second. I can click animate, and we get that animation on the style that we want. Now, this is, of course, adjustable. If we wanted a 125-degree turn, we could. And if we wanted 2.3 meters per second, we could. We can also change the duration, so feel free to do that. But there are some more advanced features, because this might not be the level of control you want. You might want to also change the acceleration in the turn, or maybe you want to change the easing method of the rotation in the turn. So we want to use a linear turn instead of a sine turn. So there's different ways you can customize this and change the turn rates. So feel free to go crazy with that. And we also have this option, which is the turn style. And that is an option I will showcase by going to 180 degrees. And we'll go for a speed of, let's say, 3.4 meters per second. I click animate with the default turn style. What you'll see is we get to the end, and then the character turns around. That's what you probably see in just your gameplay system. You get to the end, you press backwards, and then you turn around. Now, if I quickly change the speed, you'll see the reason that happens is because we're going forwards, and then we're rotating, and then we're going backwards. But if we change the turn style to post-turn, let's say, we get a different root motion behavior. And now, instead of turning as soon as we get to the end, we pause for a bit and then turn. Now, this small difference is actually going to change the performance of the animation quite a lot. So now if we animate here, it's going to look like the zombies stopped, seen something, gotten scared of it, and then turned around, as opposed to what looked like before the zombie gets to the end and then decides to turn around. And we even have the pre-turn option, which is useful for other cases. So you'll turn before the turn and then go that way. So changing the rotation will change the performance quite a lot. But if we close the advanced controls, one more thing in the advanced controls is we have a spring-based simulation type. So that might be closer to how your gameplay system behaves. So if you want to use that, then use spring-based. But you have the two options there. We'll disable that and just go back to the default settings. And the second option in the motion tab is uploading an FBX animation. Because let's say you have, this is a cinematics example, but there's other gameplay examples as well. You have a scene and you have some objects in the scene that you want your character to move around in a very specific way. If you keyframe that and export it from your DCC as an FBX with one bone called root, and that bone has positions and rotations keyframed, we can upload the FBX here. And I'm going to go and find it. You won't be able to see what's going on my screen, but I'm just going through my computer and finding this path. And this is a path that I keyframed in Motion Builder. So it's really just a stress test to see how a style works in different kind of scenarios: stops, starts, banking, arcs, and turns. We can click animate, and now we have our style on this custom path that I imported into Motorica. But we also have the option, of course, to do it on anything. So we can go for a combat rifle character, click animate, and now we have the same path, but this time it's a combat rifle. So that's the motion tab in a nutshell. There are some other options over here. So the first one is mirror. If we click animate, you'll see that it's going to mirror the style, but not mirror the root motion. So the trigger's in the left hand instead of the right hand now, but the root motion is exactly the same. So that can be useful to generate a bit more variation, especially in a crowd system, for example. There's the loop option, which is very important for gameplay. So if we go back to this preset and we turn loop off and click animate, you'll see that right at the end, it skips. It's not a looping animation, and this wouldn't be suitable for a gameplay system. But if we click loop and click animate, then what you'll find is we have a seamless loop. So this can be put into a gameplay system. Now, this third option, max precision, you can use it. It's more of a legacy feature. It will increase the quality of the animation, but it will take a bit longer to generate. But now that we've increased the bar of the quality a lot higher than when this feature was initially made, you won't see too much difference. So feel free to use it, but we don't really use it anymore as a feature. It's kind of deprecated at this point. So once you're happy with the animation and you want to bring it out of motion stage, then all you would have to do is click download latest Motorica character. And this is going to download the human IK characterized T-posed Motorica character. And then once that's on your computer, you can click export. And this is going to give you the animation as an FBX, just the animation, no mesh. So you can put that onto your mesh and then you get the full character. And if you want it in place, click these three dots, click in place, and then click export. And then you'll have it in place instead of with the root motion. So that's how you would get an animation out. And I'm sure you're thinking now, okay, so I can get one out, but how do I get 150 out or 200 out for a motion matching system? And that's where Motion Factory comes into play. So if we head into Motion Factory, the first thing you'll be greeted with is this option to choose a workflow. And before we talk about the workflows, Motion Factory in a nutshell is a way to generate a lot of animations at once. Now, simplified mode is informed by a lot of research that we've done with motion matching experts. We've spoken to some of the creators of motion matching. We've spoken to companies that have been doing motion matching a lot and are famous for it. And all that research and also internal testing and research has culminated into simplified mode, which essentially, as you as a user can come to us and say, I have this character, it needs to do this, 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 and this. Give me a full motion matching data set, which will have comprehensive coverage, so I can just drop the animation straight into my motion matching system and it will just work. That's how simplified mode works. Custom mode allows for a lot of different workflows, and we'll talk about them each individually. But just to give a high level idea of what the workflows are, the first thing that you can do with custom mode is change your acceleration values, deceleration values, turn rates, all of these things to closely match your gameplay system. So the root motion is closer to the way that your capsule moves. The second way of using it is if you want to use a smaller set of paths or you want to define your own custom path sets, then we have a compact JSON format, which is essentially a path representation of player inputs. And you can bring that into here and simulate paths that way. So you have a smaller or larger or different path set than what we provide in simplified mode. Now, the third way to use custom mode is what we like to call the reverse workflow. So typically with animations or gameplay animation in general, you would be going from your animations to your gameplay. And that's because you create your animations and you put them into the gameplay system. Creating them is many different processes that could happen. It could be keyframe, it could be motion, it could be mocap. There's many different ways to create animations. But let's say you have your animations and you want to put them into your gameplay system. The likelihood is the root motion of the animations will not match one-to-one to the way that your capsule moves. That can be for a lot of reasons. In mocap, it can be because the human in the mocap the mocap actor themselves can't move as quickly as a character can in, let's say, Fortnite. You can't turn on a dime like you can in Fortnite. And the root motion of the mocap will not match the character motion in the game. Or it could just be initially they were quite close, but then after a lot of development cycles and iteration, and designers test changing things and gameplay testers saying it's too fast or too slow, then you slowly move further and further and further away from the root motion that the animations initially had. And then however you end up at this issue with the difference between root motion of animations and gameplay, you have a problem and you have to correct it at runtime. And this can lead to foot sliding, it can lead to awkward strides, it can lead to weight shifts being wrong. There's a lot of artifacts that might come from this. But what if we were to say you could reverse the workflow? Instead of going from animations to gameplay, you go from your gameplay to your animations. So if we are able to, inside our engine, record the way that our character capture moves and then export that and upload it to Motorica, we can now generate animations that look good and also have one-to-one root motion with the animations and the gameplay. And this is going to make your job as a technical animator a lot easier at runtime because there's less corrections to be made and it's going to be, less artifacts in theory. And in practice, this does work quite well. We do have an end-to-end pipeline to do this in Unreal all the way through to bring it into Motion Factory, and I will show that in a bit. But before we go too deeply into that, let's just take a step back and go back to simplified mode, because this is how you're going to be getting used to the Motion Factory system, and it's very useful for iteration. So we go into simplified mode, and the first thing that we're going to be asked is to choose the style that we want. So this whole process is just going to ask us a lot of questions about the character that we want to animate and the gameplay system we're going to put the character into. And with your answers to those questions, you're going to get a full data set of animations. So we can go here and we can choose our style. For this, I'm going to say we're going to make a zombie NPC. And this NPC is going to be an enemy that's kind of just walking around, idling really slowly when the player's not around. And then when the player gets near them, they're going to activate. They're going to start strafing and running, and there's going to be a lot more dynamic movement in that sense. So we can choose the style here, click zombie, click preview. And when we preview, we can see the zombies idle. Now, if you don't like this idle for whatever reason, you can change the seed, preview again, and you'll get a different zombie. So it's up to you to choose a seed that you want. And if you come back and use the same seed, you're going to get the same data set. But once you're happy with the seed, then and you can also do the whole scaling thing here as well. It works exactly the same. But we can advance to the next step. And the first question is, what gates do you want the character to be able to move in? So in line with the definition that I gave earlier, we're going to go for walk and run. Next, we're going to say that I can't strafe when walking, and I'm moving at 1.1 meters per second. And I can strafe when running. And let's say we're moving at 3.5 meters per second, just a bit slower because the zombie needs to move a bit slower. Next, we're choosing the movement mode. So under the hood, this is changing things like accelerations, decelerations, turn rates, all of those kind of variables. But we abstract that to you as a user in just 3 variables because it's a lot easier to deal with this than changing sliders. But if you want to change those values, you can head into custom mode. So dynamic movement mode, is for characters or gameplay systems that require really quick twitch agile movements. Realistic is useful for most use cases, and it's good across the board with all of our styles. And sluggish is for characters that require a bit more weighted movement. So zombies, goblins, ogres, those kind of characters. So we'll use sluggish for this one because we are making a zombie. And if I click next, we're going to get the path length option. So all the questions before now were to do with the character and how they move, and a little bit about the gameplay system. But the next 2 questions are purely just about the gameplay system that you're going to be putting the animations into or the character into. And the first question is whether you want to use long paths or short paths. So long paths are the kind of, we'll call them dance cards. You'll traditionally see them in older historical motion matching systems or the original motion matching systems. You would have gone to the Mocap studio, recorded a lot of mocap in a structured way in very long takes, gotten this data and put it into your system, and it would have just worked. Short paths is what we've seen in some of the more recent motion matching systems, where instead of one long animation with, let's say, 8 different strafe pivots, you would have 8 different strafe pivot animations, all segmented and chopped up to put into the system that way. Now, we're not going to be opinionated and tell you which one to use, so we just give you the option to use both. Short paths is marked as experimental because it is a recently released feature. So we're still trying to work out exactly how long the animations need to be, but it still works. So we'll choose short pass for this and click next step. And the last step is speed damping. So this is going to change the speed of the character based on the direction that it's moving in. And that's because in a typical gameplay system, you're not moving forwards at the same speed as you are moving backwards or sideways. So if we don't have that in the animations, motion matching is going to have a harder time to match the animations to the gameplay itself. So if we bake it into the animations, then motion matching will have that context and it will have an easier job selecting poses. So we can enable that and say that when we're strafing, we want to move at 85% of the forward speed. And when we're moving backwards, we want to move at 75% of the forward speed. When we're done with that, we've got the review phase just to see everything's fine and we've not missed any settings. And we can head into the path view phase where we're going to see all the animations in the different categories that we're going to generate for this data set. So these categories that we have, because of the settings that I chose earlier, we have idle, walking, running, and transitions. Now, inside each category, we have subcategories. So running, for example, has turns, and we can look at the turns. It has stops, it starts, arcs, all these different categories. Now, you'll notice walking has less categories because we chose not to strafe in this gate, so there's less of a range of movement there. But the idea is you can look through any of these animations, and right now it's just a root motion, T-pose sliding around just to show you the root motion. But if you want to see what the animation looks like, we can go to this one here and click preview. And now we're going to see the zombie moving to the left with a left turn on the path that we've chosen. And this path is reflecting all the settings you've chosen before, the speeds, the turn rates, all that kind of stuff, to the point where this is the animation that's going to be in your final data set. Now, one thing you may be wondering is, okay, I have this one left turn, but I want another version of the left turn where the foot plants on the other side, because for motion matching, we need the coverage so that at the point of the turn, let's say this is the point where the player changes the input to turn left. Well, the right foot's down, but the left foot could be down for the player. And what's going to happen if that is the case? Well, we're going to have to do a weird blend and it's going to come up in gameplay and it's not great. So we have the option here with this feature called phase shift, and this is also marked as experimental because it's quite new. Click two variations and click preview, and then you'll notice that at the same point of deceleration, here, we've got the right foot down on this character here, but we've got the left foot down on this character here. And that is also reflected in the turn. We've got the left foot here and the right foot here. So we get those variations just by clicking this button and clicking preview. And this works for any action. It's not just turns, it starts, it stops, it's pivots, it's all different animations, but you can't use it on looping animations. Phase shift is not available. So once you've kind of gone through the data set and you've made sure that everything's fine, you can look at your transitions as well. For example, walk to run, have a look at that. It's walking, then running. Just look through the animations, make sure everything's fine. And you can go as granular as you want here. So you could just click advance and not look at the animations. You could look at a few just to make sure that the character and the style is good with the movement settings you've chosen. Or you could go through every animation, enable phase shift on the ones that you want. So it's really as granular as you want to go here. And it's good in the sense that if you refresh the page and you come back to Motion Factory, then we have this button here, continue last session, and it's going to put you exactly where you were before, and you'll be seeing the exact same animation. So peace of mind that you're not going to lose your progress if you close the page. But if we advance to the final step, then you'll see that we are seeing how many animations that we're going to generate, the length of time that's going to take to generate those, and the style that we chose. But let me quickly go back to this stage and we can choose long paths because we'll show you the other side and see how that works. So long paths, if we go into running and we go to forward and we go to turns, you'll see that instead of having a separate 45, 90, 135, and 180 turn, we now have them all in one animation. So I can click preview and you'll see we have our 45, our 90. But if I click two variations, we also get those variations here as well. Now, you'll notice at the point of turning, here, where is it? It's about here. Left foot down, right foot down. Point of turning here, left foot down, right foot about to be down. So it works for the long paths as well. If it's not working as well as it should be, because zombie is a style where the strides are very inconsistent. So what you can do is you can reseed, or any animation. In fact, this is just it stretches to any case. If you're not happy with the animation that you're seeing on screen, click override seed, change the seed, and go again, and it'll fix some of the artifacts. So this one here, now we have the exact opposites phase: right foot down, left foot down, and so on and so forth. Left foot down, right foot down. So a reseed sorted that issue out. But anyway, we advance to the final step. We can see how many animations we're going to generate. This one is, of course, less because it's long paths. And we have the style. Click generate. And we're going to send the request off to the server to generate all the animations and then bring them into our email. So this is going to send an email to us of a zip file containing all the animations that we've just created in a very structured manner. Now, those are all structured as FBX files in the same categories that you saw in Motion Factory. It will be the folders and the subfolders and then the animations. And we have a very streamlined way to bring that into Unreal Engine. But before I go over that workflow, style cloning. I'll quickly talk about style cloning. So if you have mocap data and you want to create your own styles, what you can do is you can go into style cloning, add your style clone dataset, and we have a whole guideline document here to show what the structure should be if you're recording mocap, but likely won't be a recording mocap for this. It works for older mocap data as well, so kind of it's there. But really what you'd be clicking through here is you would want to go to the data preparation guide to see how you should prepare it for upload. But anyway, let's say we've read that and we've prepared our data correctly. We can now go down here, click continue, name our style. I'm going to call this rifle because that's the data that I have on my computer. Create style clone. And now if I upload the files, we can go here to my mocap files folder. And again, you can't see this, but I'm just selecting files on my computer, uploading them. And in a second, they'll start uploading. So we have first, the files are uploading, and you'll see a progress bar. And once a file has uploaded, then it will start validating. And once it's validated, then you can preview it. So we're just validating it to make sure that it's of the right format. We're talking skeleton, hierarchy, we're talking axes, just actual technical details. And you can preview any of the animations that you upload in here. So this is some of the mocap data that I've uploaded for this style. And you'll see this root motion here, but note that the animations that I uploaded actually didn't have any root motion. So we have a root motion extraction tool in the web browser, which will create the root motion for you. So that's one thing you have to worry about less. So it really can just be mocap that you've got lying around and you upload it here. The only caveat is it should be clean mocap because the mantra we go with is clean in, clean out, not clean data in, then not clean data out. So let's say you've got all your animations here, and as you view them, they're going to fill up that bar and you can get to 100% to make sure you've looked at all your animations. You come back here, you select the style that you want to style clone. Now you can do this multiple things. You can do a rifle style, you can do a sword style, a goblin style, whatever you want, right? Whatever mocap data you have, upload them in different styles, select all the styles you want, fine tune the model, name this one, we'll call it Motorica Masters, why not? Select that click box, and I'm not going to click send request because that's going to actually start the training. But let's say I did click that, then we would start the training and there would be a button here that would let you see the progress of the training request that you've sent. You're going to get the style back in around a day's time, probably within the same day, but just for safety, we'll say a day. And then you can go back to motion stage. And if you go to the models, you'll actually see under the private models, you'll have your new model. So there will be one here called Motorica Masters. There is one here called Fine Tune Demo, which is one that I've made a while ago. So let's say this one was called Motorica Masters. We click our new model, we click the style that we want to generate with, and then we click animate, and we get our style clone doing the exact same stuff as we could do with all the other in-house Motorica styles. And this is an ape style that we have. So just a consideration there. If you do have data, you can upload it and create your own styles and then create bespoke characters because they're not contained within the Matorica dataset. But there's probably going to be more information on that in general coming to you separately. So that's pretty much all the tooling that we have in Motorica for now. I will be coming back here to show some of the Unreal stuff. But if we switch to Unreal, then I can show you how to import the Motorica dataset that I showed you how to generate about 5 minutes ago and bring it directly into Unreal Engine using our import plugin, all in a matter of 2 or 3 minutes with the post search databases set up straight away. So stay tuned. So here we are in Unreal Engine, and you're seeing our sandbox project. So this is really our testing ground for motion matching to make sure that things work with Motorica animations inside Unreal Engine. And it also comes packaged with the Motorica Quick Import plugin, which we'll be sending to you. Well, it's actually available on our website for the documentation. So if you add that plugin to your project, then you'll have this button here that you can click. And once you click that button, then we will be tasked with selecting the folder that we just downloaded or just generated from Motion Factory. Now, this is a pre-made version that I made a little while ago because, well, I didn't want to wait the 11 minutes, so we could just go straight into this part. So this is exactly the same as we saw with the same setup. It's got walking, running, walking and running as a zombie, long paths with similar speeds. So we click the folder that we extracted, and note you need to click the folder as it comes out of the zip, not any of these folders. It has to be the root folder itself. And once you click that, then we can add a new folder in our project and call this zombie assets, let's say, just on the root folder. Now, if I were to click import, it would import all the animations onto the Motorica skeleton, which is packaged in the plugin. Now, quick note, the Motorica skeleton packaged in the plugin is a Z up version of the skeleton, not the Y up version that comes from Motorica. So if you were to use the plugin version of the skeleton and try and import animations from Motion Stage onto there directly using Unreal Engine's base import method, there would be some issues. Now, we do have documentation to explain how to do that, and it all comes from issues that are arising from using the new interchange format. But there's a documentation telling you how you can do that. It's just a console command you have to enable. But yeah, just bear in mind, if you run into that issue, there is documentation for that on the web. But anyway, if we want to retarget the animations to our target skeleton, what we can do is click retarget imported animations, then select the IK retargeter that we want to use. So this one comes packaged with the plugin as Motorica to Mani. If you want to go from your skeleton, from Mani to your skeleton, because you already have that retargeter set up, then feel free. If you want to go directly from Motorica to your skeleton, then duplicate this and edit it a little bit. But we're going to go to Mani for this, and we're going to select the Mani mesh for the target mesh. Now, the prefix, we're not going to prefix, but we'll add a suffix of UE5 to all the retargeted animations, just so we can tell the difference in the project. And then if I were to click import now, it would import the source animations and then retarget, and that'll be done. But there's this final step, which is creating the post-search databases. And what this is going to do is going to create all the PSDs and the normalization set that you need to put into your gameplay system. So for this, I'm going to choose this advanced schema. There's two versions of the schema, advanced and simple. Advanced is one that's based off The Last of Us 2's motion matching system. They had a nice talk at GDC about that. So a lot of the concepts of that are packaged into this schema. And this Mani Simple schema is a very just base level Unreal Engine motion matching schema. It's just trajectory and feet position and a little bit of pelvis direction. That's it. So you have your two options there. I'm going to choose advanced for this. Now, we also have the split into smaller PSDs option. So if I don't select this, it's going to create one big data set for walks, one big one for runs, one big one for sprints. But if I do select it, it's going to segment the data sets, and we're going to have like a walk turns, a walk stops, a walk this, a walk that database. So up to you if you want to use that. I'm going to keep it off for now and click import. And the first step that's going to happen is it's going to import all the animations onto the Motorica skeleton. And this whole process takes about 2 to 3 minutes on a data set of this size. So it's not too long, go grab a coffee and come back. But this first step is the importing source assets. Next, it's retargeting. So it's just going to retarget all the animations onto the target skeleton in smaller subsections. So it could put them into different PSDs if it wanted to. if you chose the option in the setup. And now the setup is complete. So if we click OK, we can go and see the 3 different folders that we've now created. So we have the source folder, and that's just all the assets on the Motorica skeleton. And if you click any one of these animations, you can see the settings that we've chosen. So yeah, all the post search set, all the root motion settings for post search are enabled. And if we go into the source folder, the retargeted folder, you'll see we have all the same assets, all the same subcategories, and they're on the target skeleton. But there is one other extra thing that we do. On animations that are meant to be looping, we also enable loops, so you can just have them straight into your gameplay system. Now, the last one is the post search folder. So if we open this, we can see the normalization set, and we see the databases that we have as well. Inside the norm set, we have our databases. Inside the databases, we have all of the animations. And this is the run gate, but you can see we've gone from the concept of a character in Motion Factory to the PSDs directly in engine, all in the space of, including generation time, about 15, 16 minutes, but actual time spent doing things, about 4 minutes. So this is going to really streamline those workflows and make sure that you can iterate rapidly if you just want to get stuff into the engine quickly. If we take a step back now and think about the other workflow that I mentioned, the reverse workflow. So, we've got our animations in game. This is the wrong character. We'll go for the base one, not the zombie. We've got our animations in game, and we can see, we've got it moving. It's moving around. It's running. It's sprinting. It's walking. It's strafing. It's doing different things. But this root motion in our game isn't the exact same as the root motion in Matorica, because we have different movement models. I have a character movement component here that is very different, well, not very different, actually very similar, but still different to the way that we create root motion paths in Matorica. So what if now I wanted to take how my character moves inside the engine and bring it out into Matorica to generate paths for it? Well, I can. So we have another plugin called the Root Motion Recorder plugin, and that is also on the website and is documented. Yeah, it's documented there. And what's going to happen is if you add it to the project, and you can see this is our character. So you add it to the project, add it to your character, this Root Motion Recorder plugin. And on here, you have options to say the output directory. It will default to this recorded paths folder in your project, but you can change the output directory. Don't change the recording frame rate. Please keep it at 30, and also keep this ticked. And you also have debug drawing stuff there if you want to use it. And the way that this works is we can go to this, and we'll see that this is just an input action that I triggered, that I've set up. So it will either start or end the recording based on whether we're recording. So this is all the setup you need to do to get this root motion recorder working in your project. And once it's there, if I'm running and I click R, then you'll see this extra line appears, and I can click R again, and that purple line is the path that I just recorded. So now we've recorded the actual root motion of the character inside the engine. So I can do that multiple times. I've got my forward loop there. I can do my 180 turn. I can also do a strafe transition. I can do a strafe pivot. And I can do really whatever we want. I can record a bunch of different things and switch to walking and then sprint out of it and then stop the recording, just to show how it works overall. And if we stop that now, we're going to have the paths in our project ready to upload to Motorica. So I can actually go here and go to the sandbox project, and then I can go to the recorded paths folder. And in this recorded paths folder, I will have the ones that I've recorded today, these 6 paths. So I want to bring them into Motion Factory. Well, we go back to Motion Factory, we click this button here, which is Motion Factory. So I need to refresh. I clicked the wrong one. And we go to custom mode. So inside custom mode, we can advance to the next step. Click import custom path set. Pure root motion is the setting that we need to enable. Upload the files, and these files are JSON files. And the reason they're JSON is it's a compact way to represent root motion because it's just data at the end of the day. We don't need the FBX format kind of encompassing that. So we just have the actual positions and rotations of the root in JSON, really compact. Upload them here, call it my paths. And now if we click preview, you'll see this is the path that I did. I was strafing, then turned, then did a little bit of a turn, then strafed again, pivoted, started to walk, and then sprinted. And that is all with the actual root motion of my capsule. And now we're going to get generated animations on top of it, which work with whatever style you want. So this works for anything. And also do note that phase shift works for this as well. So we have this left turn, we can click two variations, and now we're going to have the two variations of that, like so. We can override seed to reseed if it doesn't go as well. But yeah, right foot down, left foot down, phase shift works for this as well. So this is another option. If you wanted to automate and script this, it would be even better. But instead of even going through Motion Factory Simplified, you could go to your gameplay capsule, record your paths there, and then reverse engineer the workflow. So, many different ways that you can build up your gameplay system with Motorica. But you might be thinking, for crowds, there's options as well. There's different things you can do. The best thing to do for crowds is to change the seed and kind of mix in different styles. I won't, give you too many hints because it's something that you might want to explore yourself. But you can also, if you think about it, use crowds, generate crowd animations in Motion Factory as well. You can have the path simulated somewhere. Maybe it might be in Houdini, in Unreal, however you want to do it. Convert it to the JSON format, upload them here, and now you have all your crowd animations. And I'll show you an example of that with the JSON format. So I have some paths in this crowd sim folder, and these are simulated from a crowd simulation. Then call it crowd sim, preview the paths, and these are just paths that are now able to generate. So we've got our crowd character number 1 walking around doing its thing. We've got our crowd character number 2 walking around, running around, doing its thing, and so on and so forth. So it works for even non-motion matching paths. Maybe it's just stuff that you actually want for whatever way, but it's scripted things that you would export, simulate, and convert into the JSON format. So that is the Motorica tech stack from start to finish, what we currently offer. There are some more features here and there everywhere, but I think I'll leave the rest of them for you to explore because they're just smaller things and different things that you can do. But that was a holistic overview of what you can do with Motorica. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what you come up with and what you create. And if you do have any questions, then there will be support channels that you can ask those questions and get some help. But I will leave you with that and say good luck. And I'll hopefully be seeing some of you in the review when I talk to the winners and the competition finalists. So yeah, have fun, enjoy, and happy animating.